In South Africa, I will say Amandla. Amandla. Long live solidarity, long live. Long live unit of the working class, long live. Thank you very much. Firstly, I want to thank the local leadership, the president of the local, the treasurer general of the local, former leadership from this union. I had an opportunity to meet with the whole day today with Howard, a very long, dedicated, tireless leader. I also had an opportunity to spend time with the family of Jack Heyman, and he took me to the port today, and he took me to a rally in town where what we thought we would have achieved today is instead we've seen a very painful experience where all of us today were gathered in support of the challenges that confront the immigrants, as we call. Today we were sitting the whole day there with the old man, Comrade Howard. Thank you very much. And for the sacrifice that you took a decision this afternoon. In South Africa, in fact, it's in the morning now. You've taken a conscious decision to come and listen to the messages of support from NUMSA. And I want to say I'm humbled because without yourselves, there was not supposed to be NUMSA today. NUMSA, it is an organization that organizes workers in the component sector of auto, the suppliers, workers that produce steel, tires, the cars that we are driving here today, coming to this meeting, are metal workers who are slaves on the point of production every day of our lives. And I've taken a decision to accept the invitation because history has taught us that it was yourselves sitting in this room in 1984 that took a conscious decision to support the challenges that confront us as the entire South Africa and the African community, that you ought to end apartheid in 1984. And I guess as I was sitting this morning trying to go through what I will be talking about, I realized that this constituency, yourselves, in that meeting, when you took a decision that you shall not touch the production that was coming out of that sea, out of that port, you've taken a class-conscious decision because you knew that 11 days that you have taken a decision not to touch production. It was very clear that there was a possibility, and the main high possibility was that those who were participating on that particular strike were going to lose jobs. And you've taken that decision purely because you understand that a class struggle, it's not a class struggle that only resides in the area where you work. You supported us in South Africa as workers, not necessarily as NUMSA alone. Without you, we're not going to be liberated today. Without you, I was sharing with the comrades sitting there on my far left that without the support that you in this particular union, you gave us in 1984, you gave us in 1977, we were not supposed to be speaking here in this particular constituency. And I want to really appreciate the role that you have played in this union since the inception of NUMSA. At the time when you supported us as NUMSA, it was in 1984, I was still a school child at the time. But today, NUMSA has managed to grow from 10,000 workers at that point in time to 340,000 workers in the country. And I'm raising this because I'm clear that in South Africa and in other parts of the world, we really appreciate what we call international solidarity. If one goes through our constitution, preamble of NUMSA, we are quite clear that we as metal workers, we firmly commit ourselves to a free society out of free economic exploitation. And went further to say, as an internationalist organization, we must continue to share experiences and ideas and exchange worker-to-worker contact. Today, I never knew that I would be here representing NUMSA, talking about Moses Mayegiso, who we dearly loved, that you have taken a conscious decision to support us. And I think it is important. On the 27th of April, we were celebrating in South Africa a 20 years of democracy. And that democracy came only on 4 pillars. 1, it was a mass mobilization. 2, it was international solidarity with yourselves around the world. 3, it was an isolation of various key component capitalist and imperialist companies that were sitting in South Africa. And we think that, yes, we have won the political power, but what we have not managed to win is the economic power in South Africa. And hence today, I think it's important to clarify a few things and share a few things so that there's clarity of what is exactly happening, what is our own experience for the past 20 years. And I mean, when Nelson Mandela, the former president, took over parliament in 1994, we were all happy. Everybody was celebrating that we have won. And I think it's important that to raise few couple of experiences, what we have faced as an international working class for the past few years. We will all recall that 2007, 2010, 2009, we were all faced with what we call global recession. And everybody was running around. And at the belly of that particular system, the capitalists continue to maximize profit, even though us as workers in all over the world will continue to lose jobs. And that's a funny arrangement, that us as the workers, us as the working class, we continue to lose jobs, but the bosses and the capitalists continue to maximize profit. That's a very serious contradiction. But we've realized that if, as a working class and the class, we can't organize ourselves in order to defeat the capitalist agenda, we won't be able to succeed. Hence, we think that international solidarity, an injury to one is an injury to all. It's a slogan that all of us, irrespective of class, race, or gender, the struggle of the working class cannot be determined by the racial supremacy. Now, we've realized quick that within the negotiated agreement that we've entered into South Africa, we had high hopes of especially using yourselves as the foundation in South Africa, because it was clear that in 1955, when the Freedom Charter was adopted on the 26th of June, we said few things. We said South Africa shall belong to those who live on it, black and white. We said the mineral wealth of that country, of our own country, shall be shared among all those who live on it. And today, it's still the same situation that used to confront us before 1994. And the fundamental question that we're posing is that, what went wrong? If one look on the current statistics, if you look at analyze the 20 years of democracy, recently, here's a typical example on the wall. It was in 1976 when there was a massacre, when students took a decision that we shall end the African Bantu education. It was workers in 1977 in Durban who took a decision that we ought to be recognized as workers because we are part of this particular country. We lost people there. It was barely in 2012, when workers in Marikana a very painful massacre took place in our own democratic dispensation. And we ask ourselves a question. What went wrong? Didn't we vote for our own democratic government? Didn't we elect the African National Congress to lead us to a socialist democratic space? We posed those questions, and we took a conscious decision as NUMSA in 2012 August. We said, in fact, we defy further like what Lenin did in 1817 when he was characterizing what is the state. We understood that the police, whilst we as workers in the mining sector were fighting for the improvement of our benefits, were fighting for the betterments of our condition, because we understood that between the working class and the capitalist class, there is a permanent class contradiction. And then we arrived on a decision as NUMSA. We then said, look, we don't have a choice. We must go to the state president of the country because we are in an alliance at the time. We told him that we think, as the president of the country, under the new democratic government, we are not in support of what you are doing. You can't be killing people, innocent people, as if we are still in an apartheid regime. There should be a difference, that it is us who owns, who lead government, and therefore you must have an authority. There's no way that police, daylight, those workers, by the way, if one watches the video, you can see the true reflection of what happened. When those workers, it's like even us here today, if an organization takes a decision to represent workers' interests, to fight for the betterment of our conditions where we're being exploited, we expect that that particular employer should respond positively to us. Because if you read and go through what has been managed to be the profits, all the mining sector, remember South Africa, I mean, you've got gold, mining, platinum, all sorts of minerals. The wealth of the country is in that particular sector, the mining sector. But workers in that particular sector continue to die on the point of production, continue not to be paid decent wages. We told the state president that, President, we think that it's time for you to appreciate that we have voted you in power. As we have put you in power, we will do what Nelson Mandela told us in 1985. He had this to say, that if the African National Congress government continue to treat you or behave like an apartheid government, you must do what you did when you had to overthrow apartheid government. Now, and I think very few in South Africa today can share those words because they know that Mandela was calling for a revolution. That was a serious revolution Mandela was calling. And we told the president that, look, these are the words of Nelson Mandela. And we think that as an NUMSA, one of the biggest unions in Africa, we think that we can't be folding arms and behave as if things are fine and yet things are not fine. We ought to organize ourselves as metal workers. And we've taken that decision last year. We went to a special congress. And this is a very simple analysis of what we find out, what has happened for the past 20 years. Firstly, you will recall that for the past 20 years when the ANC was celebrating 3 days ago, we asked a question. What must we celebrate as the workers and the working class in South Africa? Because since 1994, the following statistics, which are coming from our own government, so it's good that anyone can still research, you will still find them. It's not something that NUMSA has just taken out of the blue. It's something that is in the system of our own, and in fact, we can take an iPad and check it. For an example, we've realized that South Africa today is being rated #1 when it comes to poverty, inequality, and high rate of unemployment. And that's contradiction, because you've got all minerals, you've got all these multinational companies from this particular part of the world. You've got General Motors, you've got BMW, you've got Volvo, you've got Toyota, you've got Nissan, you've got Daimler Chrysler, you've got Ford, you've got all these multinational companies that are situated in South Africa. The fundamental question is, why we continue to talk about the high rate of unemployment? How do we address the imbalances of the past? It cannot be correct that, as I'm standing here today, what used to be owned by us, for an example, the financial sector in South Africa, it's privately owned. A very serious sector of the economy is foreign owned. And we said, no, then there's something wrong. And we've got a relationship with everybody, but at least there must be a decision that we must take a class position. And that class position is whether you are with us or you are with capitalists. Finish. I mean, it's not an easy decision. But for an organization like NUMSA, that have said in its preamble, we firmly believe and commit that we shall fight for a free South Africa out of free economic exploitation. That means a lot. That on its own creates a problem. Our own preamble, wherever we go, creates a problem. But the reality is that it's yourselves that supported us in 1984. When we merged in 1987, we had to borrow from the struggles and the lessons that you've built us. If it was not for yourselves, we're not supposed to have a union called NUMSA today. That must be known. That the resolution that was taken on the 18th of October in 1984 has helped us today. Hence, we are proud as metal workers to stand here in front of yourselves to appreciate and thank the role that we have played to this particular giant organization, which we shall continue to face problems, and because of you are here with us, we must continue to interact and share experiences. I mean, when workers in this, there's a mine called Lomnin, a normal, peaceful demonstration, a well-protected strike, the union engaged, those workers engaged in a peaceful demonstration. The state, in defense of the capital, decided to kill those workers. And as they killed those workers, you will see on the video, because finally now the truth is out. That's the beauty about it. We said it in 2012 August that truth shall set you free. Just please do us a favor, Jacob Zuma, as the president of the country, and the deputy president of the ANC, who've got half shares of Lonmin, Cyril Ramaphosa. We told them, but how can we trust that you shall lead us if your hands are full of blood of workers? And I must say that that invited various enemies for us as NUMSA. But I mean, we have chosen sides. And we said, Tina, we are young. We don't have time to lie. We must just face the bull by its horn. So we said few things. That in analyzing the alliance that we used to have, that you are supporting, because you are not only supporting NUMSA, you are supporting the struggle of the working class, the entire Africa, including us on the tip of Africa. We said that as metal workers, we've got a role to play. We can't keep quiet. And we said we'll convene a special Congress last year we said few things. 5. We said, firstly, that we think it is high time that in South Africa we analyze what we called as an alliance pact. It means the ANC, COSATU as a federation, and the South African Communist Party. We realize that as workers who are being used as voting voters, as workers who are used only on the eve of elections, any elections. After the elections, the leadership, the political leadership don't come to us. So that's NUMSA's analysis. Because if that was the case, why are we still having labor brokers? Why are we still having temporary workers? Why are we still having workers who are working in the same point of production, producing a car, but you are not paid the same benefits, whereas that we are producing same car? As if that around the world that there's a shop, you know, they treat workers separately in that as if that there's a shop if you want to buy electricity or you want to buy petrol, if you want to buy food, if you want to take your children to a school, there's a particular arrangement for those who are temporary workers. And the fundamental question that's no. That all of us, we need those basic human rights that can create a human dignity. We said to them in 2009, ban labor brokers. And we said it's a very simple thing, that you can't have two sets of people in the point of production. It's incorrect. In fact, this is an old slavery arrangement. That was very simple. And they took an offense, but we said it's fine. At least you know now what is NUMSA's position. That ban labor brokers. And it was not us. It was through your struggle, what you supported in 1984. It was not that there must be a continuation of an exploitation. That's not what you voted for on the 18th of October in 84. You said, I was reading one of the articles, it said, smash capitalism, workers' power forward. That was this organization that I'm talking to today. And therefore, we've got that rich history that we must preserve. Today, if you can ask any metal worker, we have supported you since 1977. We nearly lost jobs. You know, I mean, Howard is 88, I'm told. Yeah, I'm told his age this year is turning 88 years. And Jack is more than 40 yourselves in this union. More than 40 serving yourselves here. More than 40 serving us at an international level. Because that's what you are doing to us. And the fundamental question is that what legacy as NUMSA leadership today we must be talking about? We can't be rewriting that particular history. And I mean, I was taken to the docks today to go and see where this decision was taken. And where these ships you refuse, is it Naylord? And it was very touching. Where I saw the venue where you were engaging in one of the churches next to the sea. And as NUMSA, we said last year, December, enough is enough. Because in South Africa today, if you look on the rate of the employment, between 2008 and 2012, during that recession, we had more than 1.2 million workers who were sick and tired to look for jobs. Now I'm saying 1.2 million. Those are the workers, those are the people who used to wake up in the morning and go and look for a job. And once you don't find a job, you get despondent. Because you get tired, there's no money to go to work. That's what we are experiencing today. We've also observed that our own democratic government I mean, now, this year, unilaterally, there's a law called Employment Incentive Tax. Hey, we look on this law. We said, Zuma. So we went to Parliament. So now we do go to Parliament and make our submission. So we don't just rhetoric. We do create space and go and present. We said this law seeks to undermine the collective bargaining. Because what they will do in addressing the high rate of unemployment, the old comrades who used to work very hard in these particular companies, who continue to be slaves in these particular companies, what will happen that the government will introduce an incentive system, okay? I will be employed, I will be paid different from you who's working, and at the end of the day, the old people who have created these particular companies are going to lose jobs because they won't be able to compete with us as young people. That's wrong.
That's what Obama did with General Motors.
Exactly. Now, we said, this is what is not, we're not going to accept. And if you want to create a two-tier labor market, you can't do this. Address the fundamental structural economic challenges in the country. Then you are talking to us. This act, it's not going to work. He went ahead on the 18th of December and signed. We said, but Zuma, how do you do this? We elected you as the masses. We are telling you as workers, this law is not accepted. But he forged and foreign to signed. We took him head on. We continue to engage. And on the 19th of March, we had one of the biggest strikes in South Africa. All more than 340,000 NUMSA members tools down that we don't want this, what we called Employment Incentive Act. Because we know sharing experiences with yourselves, what has led to this particular law. I mean, I was in Detroit. The whole of last week I was in Detroit. I was in Detroit. Detroit is a ghost town. Seriously, it's a very painful city where it used to organize one of the biggest unions in America, UAW. And because of yourselves, and we may not have visited you to come and say that this is the support that we are giving, but we must appreciate the role that we have played. Because, and we are going to do it differently. Because last year, when we were told that workers in Mississippi of Nissan are under various attacks, we left our families and come and spend a month here in Mississippi in support of those workers. And as if it was not enough, whilst we were busy organizing workers in Mississippi in Nissan, a very painful story, very, very unbearable conditions. We said, we had phoned that, please come to Tennessee. Is it Tennessee? Is it Tennessee? Tennessee. Whilst we were busy boxing with police and everybody in Mississippi, and it was not easy to organize there. You must go to church and organize in church at night sometimes, you know, convene meetings in the early hours. But we believe in one thing, that the unity of the working class at one day will take us free. Yeah. And when we met with the president of UAW, we told him that, Bob King, we are a metal worker. We are metal workers. We know how to deal with capital. We face capitalism every day of our lives. So the first thing that you must do, come to South Africa. Before we go to Mississippi because we'll show you what we'll do in Mississippi. You must have an experience of it in South Africa. So we invited him. We called Danny Glover. He said, no, come, my brother, come. Come to South Africa and let's allow you to talk about the struggles of our own comrades here in this part of the world. Because indeed, there's a fallacy here, there's a thinking that since we voted one of our own here in this particular country, we had all high hopes. Then there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong to have hopes. But the fundamental question is, how do we organize ourselves as a class in order to make sure that we defeat and we emerge victorious as workers? Today we're supposed to be celebrating May Day. If one watches the news, in Turkey they don't play. They kill properly workers. If you check India today, just today, where this day is supposed to be celebrated, sharing experiences, exchange ideas, exchange views in the name of international solidarity May Day, that in fact our own brothers and sisters in this particular country where I'm standing today died. And it's not the case here. It's different. And we said as NUMSA, we've got our own challenges. But there's one thing that Karl Marx once wrote about. He said, workers of the world unite, you've got nothing to lose but your chains. And I mean, we have taken a decision. It's not easy in South Africa, I can tell you. You may think that, comrades, it's 20 years, everything is fine. No. Things are not fine. Things are not fine. I'll raise a couple of issues. Things are not fine in that since Mandela left the office, no, Mandela only led one term. 1994, 1999, boom, he left. And everybody was still shocked that how can the old man do this? But look, I guess he was old and he could not carry over. But immediately after he left the office, last did we know that the neoliberal policies were introduced in South Africa. What you were fighting for here 2 weeks ago at some of the schools against privatization is what you are also fighting for. So we must continue to fight against privatization. I mean, we have written a letter in solidarity of the struggle of workers of California who were told that they are being dealt brutally, there's privatization that is taking place. As NUMSA, it's a principle. It's not a fashion. It's a principle that privatization, we know what are the impacts and the effects of that. And we know, comrades, that capitalism knows no color, knows no race, knows no greed. The only thing they know is how to maximize profit. You know, I mean, I had a very painful experience, Howard, today. I went to town. I'm not sure which town is that. Is it Auckland? I went to Auckland today. And it was hot. And I could not take the heat. But what I like and which I'm going to share in South Africa is how all race and class formations and all social movements today came together on that square.
Right.
And this is important because whether you are from India, whether you are from China, whether you are from Japan, whether you are from Poland, whether you are from South Africa, whether you are from Nigeria, today workers, the working class was united against one common enemy. And I think, as NUMSA, you should, irrespective of what formation are we representing, at least for the cause that we have taken today, to support how the people are being treated. If you are from Poland, you will be treated that, no, this is your work. If you are from China, this is your work. That must come to an end. A worker, it's a worker, irrespective of a country of my origin.
That's right.
And what touched me, President, today in that rally, when they opened the rally, the chairlady, she says, we are here today, old, young, youth, including children, gathered on that square today. At least that should send a very clear message to the president of this country. Yes, you know, there are many ways how to send messages. You know, even if we are 10, as long as that our concerns are being registered, the way today, those workers, and you see, that's what is nice about politicians. All of them. No, it's not only here, all of them. All of them, they will come to us and promise heaven and earth on the eve of the election. Look, we'll take a better devil. Among both, they are all devils. But we will have to choose which one is better than this one. And then we'll go with that one. And then after the election, they pull back. The next thing they deal with those that put them in power. That's a very fine arrangement, Howard. That we as the working class will continue to vote people all over the world. And once you put them on the office, the very same people that you put them in the office are the very same people that turns against us. And after 5 years, we continue to go and support them. That's why, as NUMSA we said, in South Africa, it is time now to go and do a study. We said in the Congress in December that President of South Africa, we think that you are not fit to hold the office. Can I have what? Yeah. And then everybody was shocked. How can NUMSA, says this, that we don't want the president of the country? We told him that one, with the high rate of unemployment in South Africa, people every day, just when you've got time, just Google and check. Every day now, there are protests. People are fighting for education. We are fighting for decent houses. We are fighting for health facility. We are fighting for a simple thing, a house, a basic house. So we told them that, but how can we fight for these things, but as an individual, you continue, thank you very much, you continue to build a house of more than 260 million alone. We told him, but your government is corrupt. And we know, you know what, the painful part about corruption. Capitalism is a very corrupt system on its own, firstly. So we're not confused when we said your government, because we understood that the president of South Africa, in fact, all the presidents around the world, are the CEOs of capital. That's a very simple thing. You will notice, I was sharing a very painful story with the Australians in Detroit. Now, capital is so brutal. Capital is brutal. And they don't care. You can support them today. You support because you are GM, you support because you are Toyota, you support because of you are VW. They don't care. We are all slaves. And it's a very painful thing, is that I've got that experience because I'm a factory worker, by the way. I'm still a slave at General Motors. Even though that I'm in the head office of NUMSA, I'm still exploited by General Motors every day. Even though that I'm just a privilege to represent workers. But I'm still a slave. So I always tell comrades that, look here, to prove that these people are so cruel, you must notice when you go at work in the morning, you go and carry your skaftin, a lunchbox. They don't search you when you enter the gate. No, they don't. They allow you to get inside. But once it's 2 o'clock or it's 5 o'clock, the security guard is waiting. Check. What is in that bag? That does not belong to you. You know, that, and as they do that, they are not violent. You must notice that. All over. But they are taught that, you know what? These are my slaves for 8 hours or 9 hours. All of us. I always tell, even during the negotiations, I tell the CEO of GM, I told him, but the only difference between me and you is that you are better slaves than me because you are employed better than me because we can't be CEOs. But the reality is that we must work collectively. And it's not easy, comrades. It's not easy. Unit of workers, it's not easy. And we must not fake unity and have a cosmetic unity. No. In a trade union like yourselves, you must accept that there will be different views. I had a robust engagement now with the comrade there on my far left. Before I came in, we had a nice engagement. Because we understood that us as workers, we must continue to allow democratic processes in the organization. You must accept different views in an organization. But once a decision is taken, democratic centralism should be the order of the day. Everybody must hold the line. And I mean, it's a very simple principle that you've elected leadership here at this local tech. You've elected leadership. You've got trust and we support the leadership. And there are times that we won't see eye to eye. It's a common cause. And if we respect democratic processes, that for example, I'm leading 340,000 workers, that does not give me a right to go and impose views on members. No. In NUMSA, that's why we really support you, is that I followed, I didn't tell him. I didn't tell them today. I was sitting in Jack's house, so he always said, no, go and relax. I was reading your history. And I was going through that motion that was against South African apartheid government. That motion came from one individual, from Howard. He raised in a particular corner. He had a clique. So in a corner, he then moved this motion that, you know what, we must support the African people. We can't continue to have a situation, people being killed for fighting for the basic rights and all that stuff. So that's one individual. He came to a meeting, and in that meeting, he then raised a motion. Okay? Now the next thing, he must canvass and campaign for that view. But on the 18th, on the 11th, so he tried to navigate of October, but on the 18th of October, a bigger executive without any dissenting voice supported us in South Africa. And that's what we appreciate about you, because you allow different views and democratic processes in the organization. That's why you are still a strong union today. And as NUMSA, we've taken a decision that you will note that in South Africa, we only know one organization that has fought for the struggle and the emancipation of us as a society in South Africa. That's the ANC. On the 7th of May, it's national elections in South Africa. after 5 years. So we said to them, man, this is simple. You see, we put you in power in 2009. You had a vision of what you will have addressed in 2014. Now it's easy to, when you're a politician, you get followed quickly with what you have said. That's why it's important in the revolution you must not lie. When you lie, you get followed quick because you even forget what you would have said the following day. Us in the trade union, we are workers. We represent workers. On the basis of that, we must not be treated unfairly, finish and clear. There must be no two-way about it. That's the difference between us and the politicians. We represent us on the basis that whether this is correct or it's not correct. We don't promise heaven and earth as workers. No. We know only one enemy, which is our class enemy, which is capitalist class. We told them that, you see, it was easily the 5 years move so quick. When you are in office, 5 years move quick. I've followed yourselves here in America. Your 5 years previously moved so quick. And the outcome of the second term is different from the previous term. Yeah. Because the politicians, when they assume, including in South Africa, they promise us they will have unemployment by 2014. Honestly, there's a vision 2040. It was in 2009. The ANC came to us and said, we've got vision 2014. So we listened to 2014. We know as workers, we'll still be in those factories and slaves. 2014 is going to come. We told them, one, during this round of election, don't visit any NUMSA factory. So no politicians in South Africa are talking to us as workers. That's a clear resolution. Two, that we shall not use metal workers' contributions or subscription to support any political party. That's what you said. So you can imagine it's a tough decision because for 20 years, even before that, you've been supporting this movement. But there's a time when you must pull back and see, in this relationship, is it a relationship only of when it's convenient for election, or when we've got issues as working class, our issues are taken forward? We said, no, man, we can't. So we shall not. We said to our members, comrades, symbol. You've got your own democratic right as a member. By the way, we said, firstly, to join, to be a metal worker, we don't ask which political party you are coming from. No. No. To be a metal worker, a NUMSA member, as long as that you are a worker working in a garage, in a tire sector, in an engineering sector, in a steel sector, at the airport, at the ports, as long as that you are exploited, you are a metal worker to us. Whichever political party you belong, we don't care. Because we understood that sooner or later, if we shall use a political party driving the organization, the struggle of workers is going to take back seat. Politicians are going to run the organizations. And once they do that, they then start to co-opt leadership. Tina, we are leaders. I always say, Howard, we are leaders. And once you are a leader, you are easily get co-opted. Once you are a leader, you are easily being corrupted. Because the next thing that they do, I'm being put by workers in a position, and I start to see things differently. And I start to have, how can I have this? And once you start, that thing comes to your mind, you must know, even if you have not touched money, you're already corrupt. by sitting and thinking, how should I sell workers? That's totally wrong. So we told them, this time around, you go on your own. And today, in South Africa, if you read the news, it's a war. COSATU, the federation of Mayekiso, COSATU, the federation that you have supported since 1977, a federation that organized more than 2.2 million, is divided into two today. Why? Because there's us who are pushing the working class agenda, then there are those who want to be in parliament. And it's a very simple thing, there's nothing wrong to have ambitions. Ne? So if you want to go to parliament, we told them, if you want to go to parliament, go to parliament. Leave us alone. This is a very simple thing. Don't sell us, don't divide us as workers. Leave us as united as we are. Go to parliament. And we told them, and in the process of you leaving to parliament, we don't have a problem. But you must remember one thing, that there's no government that has money. There's no government that has money. Government doesn't have money. It's us that controls that power because we pay tax. I think you must understand this. Check. There's no government that has money. If we cease to work, then we are talking. As long as we are working, we are holding power in our hands as workers. That's a very simple thing. They will collect tax. Because you work, you must pay tax. They take it, and they use it differently. And if you fold arms, they will use it on their own way. That's why it's important that, yes, as NUMSA and as workers, yes, we must prioritize the struggles of workers. But it doesn't mean once you leave your company, the company where you work, you must then relax and don't participate. Your future will be decided by those who are participating. So we reminded the African National Congress government, but look, guys, you don't have money. We as workers, we are working. They introduced a law which we're fighting very hard. It's going to be blood in South Africa. Exactly what they did here. They want to utilize the pension funds money of workers. Something that they were doing here. And we said, you know what? You are creating a problem. They thought we were joking. And we were told we want to persuade you. Because we know once we mobilize those workers, that country is going to burn. And we know history. And especially currently today, it's almost young people. It's us who are there. So we will see things tomorrow. We don't mind. So we told them, can you please leave our own money? We are capable of managing our pension funds money. I mean, if you've got ministers, you've got parliamentary politicians sitting in parliament, driving all these big cars, jets and everything, that's our money. So what guarantees that our own pension funds money are going to be in good hands? We told them. And at least they tried to listen. But we know it's purely because of its election fever. We said it's time for NUMSA to call, and we are engaging with international world that we are going to form a workers' party in South Africa. And everybody was not happy. But we told them that it is only our analysis and experiences that we think that us as workers, not us as leadership, but the working class, should identify its own capable leaders and lead the struggle of workers, because we are convinced that with this arrangement of Sometimes you've got a neoliberal policy because of you want to appease the imperialist agenda. We care less about that. I mean, 3 days ago, in Australia, GM closed a plant in Australia. More than 250,000 workers are losing jobs. I know we also lost jobs here. And when I was entering this town, I can easily divide that, oh, okay, this is a financial sector. This is a middle class area. This is where the working class stays. Yeah. As I was coming from which airport, is it San Francisco, no? Yeah. As I was towards the bridge, going to Auckland, I can easily identify here. This is the capitalist cluster stays here on the mountain. Here, this is the financial sector. Here, these are the IT gurus. Here, this is the poorest of the poor. Why? If we all voted one government, but why? I'm saying, when I enter Auckland, yesterday, immediately when I landed, that was my observation, and Jack told me. And Howard told me this morning, you see that mountain? You see, today, people are going to the stadium. I said, what's going on? I'm not sure what's going on. There's a stadium there, a big stadium. Yeah. And I'm told that the working class of this country is unable even to afford to get into that stadium. This is not different from South Africa. In South Africa, when there was a World Cup, everybody, remember Mandela was sick. Mandela was sick. But because of, the capitalist agenda is very dominant. Sometimes. When he went there, they knew very well that Sepp Blatter, that they're going to give us that World Cup. And we're all excited. And I want to tell you, it was a very short excitement. Very short. It was the pronouncement that South Africa is going to host World Cup. That's nonsense. Why? The stadiums, this reminds me of the stadiums that I was talking about. The stadiums that were built in South Africa, the grass that is on that stadium, it's imported. Don't talk about grass, no soccer, grass. Grass, anything that you can see outside here, grass. Steel, everything that goes to that stadium. That's why you will notice there was a possibility that whether we'll be able to host World Cup or not, if you recall. Because, firstly, they would have exploited those workers and take labor brokers, don't unionize those workers. That's why it's important, even here in this organization, we must refuse to have workers that don't belong to a union. Your history is a very rich one. And you must defend that history. You must defend. It's going to be difficult. But you must defend. You must have passion, and you must persuade each other, and you must develop strategies and tactics of defending that history. For this board today to have half of workers that don't belong to a union is not accepted. That's right. It can't be. That's not what you supported. I'm just telling what you have done in 1984, in 1977. I was not there, I was still at school. But I'm saying, all of us, officials of the organization, elected leadership of the organization, us as workers, union members, how do we make sure that, because they are our own brothers and sisters at the end of the day. They don't stay on the pots, they stay where we stay. Probably it's my sister, it's my brother in the same house, he's a union, I'm not a union member. How do you look at him or her and say, but my sister, are you enjoying the same benefits? No. My brother, why? There's no shop or a mall or a garage for temporary workers. No. We all go into one shop. We all go to one school. So I'm saying, lastly, that I think the message that you want to bring to yourselves here in this organization, you must continue to grow. You have made NUMSA. When you hear about metal worker, you must know that you have played a very meaningful contribution to that organization. And we must continue to fight capitalism. We must continue to fight against racism. We must continue to fight against class struggle, against gender, against women emancipation.
It's not World War III over in Ukraine and Russia.
You see, because, comrades, we can do whatever I want to do. But the struggle of women all over the world should be prioritized. All of us were not supposed to be here if it was not because of women. Yeah. No, they know how to struggle properly. And I think what I've seen in the square today, it was predominantly women. And you know why? Because to us as men, there's a perception that, no, it's a women. That's their issue. That's what I've seen today. Majority, it was young women and old women. And as if that the challenges that confront us are not the same. So I think we ought to devise ways of working together. And as NUMSA, on this particular day, I'm happy to talk to yourselves. And I will bring a revolutionary greetings to Comrade Moses Mayege. So he's still strong. He is contesting a presidential election for a workers' party in South Africa. We called him in 2012. We said, General Secretary, we elected you whilst you were in jail. That's what we did. When you've got confidence, you did the same here. There are leaders that you have elected whilst they were in jail. Because you believe that unity is strength and its power. We elected Moses Mayege. He was in jail. You supported somebody that you've never seen. It was only Nelson Mandela, when he was free, he came down and come and thank you. May his soul rest in peace. Mandla. Mandla. Long live the spirit of working class. Long live.
Long live the spirit of working class. Long live.
Thank you very much. I think there are a few things that I want to clarify quickly so that there's no confusion. The Freedom Charter in 1955 was not adopted by the ANC. It was the people of South Africa. Hence, it's called Congress People. It was only the people of South Africa in all provinces of South Africa gathered together. Then they arrived that this is the agenda that we must take in case we win the liberation. Subsequently, it was the African National Congress that has adopted it. It was COSATU that adopted it. It was NUMSA that adopted it in 1987. So I think there must be that clarity. But two, indeed it's correct that there is a South African Communist Party. I agree with the comrade. That's true. Chris Hani, Joe Slovos, they are coming from that party. But the fundamental question is, on all the struggles that we continue to pursue in South Africa today, the working class struggle, it's in a normal situation is supposed to be led by the South African Communist Party. And they are nowhere. We went to negotiations in all sectors of the economy. How they characterize Malikana, they are saying those workers who have, by the way, we gave them a video now. You can see those workers when they were killed. They are being characterized that as vigilantes, a group of people who are angry, killing people. But when you see the video, you see that's a class analysis from the South African Communist Party. There are a number of incidences that are taking place in the country. And I agree, yes, there is a Communist Party, but the Communist Party that we know, it's not the party that is currently what is happening today. For an example, there's a new system that is introduced in South Africa called e-tolls. You know, if you drive in Gauteng, it's like driving between here and Auckland. The Freedom Charter says all shall be free to move to each and every country without paying a cent. If you want to move to another province in South Africa, you pay. We call it e-toll system. Currently today, the National Development Plan as a policy that's supposed to drive the social, economic changes in the country has been accepted by the Communist Party, and of which it reverses all the gains that we have won since 1994. So I agree there is, but the question is how relevant the South African Communist Party today. Look, we have learned a lot today, but Jack, we still have a long debate about the nature of what kind of the Workers' Party. That's why I'm here. That's why we are meeting with various people. We are humble as NUMSA. We want to learn. That's what we said. We said we don't want to go to elections in 2017, in 2015. We must share ideas, exchange experiences. And then out of that, we then mold all these experiences. We've got a number of tendencies. Even in NUMSA, you've got Trotskyites, you've got all those sort of tendencies within NUMSA. And you must accept that because we are a trade union movement. So that's why we took a decision, we are humble, that we are doing a study exchange program, share experiences. What happened in Russia? I mean, he's calling for a 1917 revolution. Now, Jack, so those are the things that I think from NUMSA. I mean, there's a very fundamental issue that you are raising to us. We, as NUMSA, went to the state institutions to go and defend VAV. Because democratic processes in the organization, in the federations, were not allowed. The environment was not conducive. You arrive in a meeting, comrades are angry, they don't want to debate. And the only solution in saving at that moment, I agree with you, that courts, police, all those states apparatus are used against us. That we understand very well. But at that moment, what do you do when no one wants to listen to each other? When the constitution of an organization gets violated, what do? You go to a comrade, but please. So I've learned that, yes, we must not take our challenges to the capitalist institution because they will turn against us. Because, by the way, we'll have to hire lawyers to do that and they just make money out of that process. That's what I'm learning today. That's why we are in the process of exchanging ideas. And I mean, as NUMSA, we are a union that we don't know nothing up until we share and we exchange. And where we differ, we must accept that, yes, on this particular matter, probably it's not a fundamental difference. It's about strategies and tactics of how do you implement, whether you do go an aggressive approach. So basically, I really appreciate the concerns that are being raised. Yes, what kind of a Workers' Party? NUMSA, we gave us a period of a year to do a study. We've got a research unit that its work is pure to do with international and Africa. What has happened? Why in the liberation movement in Africa, everything is chaos? We should ask that question. What happened? You know, what lessons can we draw? How do you deal with this imperialist agenda? How are we being co-opted? Comrades were being co-opted, it's a fact. If you look at the South African Communist Party, 99% are in parliament today. And the agenda that gets driven, it's not the one that we would have expected. It's not the one that Joe Slovo fought for. It's not what we understood to be the agenda. So the issue is about if the South African Communist Party, its leader, General Secretary, is the leader of, is the Minister of Higher Education. The South African education system, it's still the same since then. How many protests you've seen in universities? How many protests you've seen in high school? A mere basic tool, a book, textbook. That institution, a very strategic one, because education, that's what Oliver Tambo told us in 1981 about the importance of youth and the importance of youth going to school. Because without education, you won't be able to change the structural economy of South Africa. But that system is still an old apartheid. We're still reading about 1852. Our own history is not there. But it's a nice debate. It's a pity that if there's time. Look, as NUMSA, we want to really appreciate, and we will convey the message to Comrade Moses Mayegiso, the others who are working with him. They must appreciate the role that has been played. I mean, I'm happy. I have not seen the video by the former president, but I mean, he's sharing the same sentiments about the role that you are playing, that you have played, that you continue to play. I'm humbled, I'm touched, sitting here today. The very same struggle continue. You are going to, some of your leadership is going to Vancouver. That shows the interconnection and worker to worker. And we, as NUMSA, we will be talking to the spokesperson that we must issue a statement that out of this meeting we support the struggle of and the ending of the escape labor in Vancouver. Thank you very much. You remember that in South Africa, I've said there was democracy. I think it's important, but it was democracy for the few. Okay, so that's why you supported us to deal with that racial system that was there, because you cannot run away that there was no democracy, but it was not enjoyed by the majority. Now, so there was democracy. But the fundamental question is, are we enjoying the fruits of that democracy since we took political power in 1994? That's the fundamental question that we have posed as NUMSA. And the answer to that, it's yes and no. Because as we speak today, not everybody got access to education. What kind of a democracy is that? What kind of a democracy is that if I'm sick, I will not have an opportunity to access an health care, even though the Freedom Charter is very clear? So the issue that we are raising here is that, yes, there is democracy. I cannot run away from that. Yes, there is access to education, but it depends. It depends. The majority of the working class that is languishing on poverty stays in shock. The reality is your education, if you stay, for an example, in suburb, you've got an access to the means of the economy, and the majority does not have access to the means of the economy. That education, even though that is democratic right to take your child to school, he or she won't be able to go to that particular school. Because even though it's that, there's still private education system. So those are the challenges that we have still to deal with. So I think the debate is a very nice part because of time. And I think through exchanging experiences, we'll have to find a way of what are we dealing with. Because it can be a free education, but if you see now the schools are in tatters and everything else. The question about them, why are we quiet about socialism? The reality is that to us, Yes, we are. Remember, that's the problem of NUMSA. NUMSA's existence is a socialist-orientated organization. And therefore, for us, we will not go quick to socialism. There are certain blocks that we have to deal with on the way before you have to realize that. And there's no way. We can't wake up in the morning and he's calling for a revolution and go, Jack is calling for a revolution. But as NUMSA, we said, we are building, these are the building blocks for us to share experiences and for starters, to mention that we are calling for a workers' party. It is the route to go to socialism. Now, remember the African National Congress, it is a multi-class organization. You've got everything there. You've got the workers, you've got left, you've got right wing, you can name them. You've got thieves, you've got everything. Because it's a multi-class organization. And for us, it's just a short-term program and a minimum agenda. A long-term one, this is what we realized that we thought it would have helped us. A freedom charter, that was a very minimum program. So when we gave X, we don't give X for free. We've got a view that this is an agenda that you must take once you arrive through the state. So basically, I have noted that, yes, we are talking about that. That's why we said in NUMSA that we must harness and call everybody together. Why this area there's a strike? You strike for electricity, you strike for education, you strike for food, you strike for job, and all those class strikers. Where is the vanguard party? Who's supposed to vanguard each other in taking that particular revolution forward? And the fundamental question is that it's there, but those struggles continue, are leaderless, honestly speaking, are leaderless. It's not about anything else. Yes, there are campaigns that we join together, but majority of the struggles in South Africa today, I mean, you can imagine all the universities, they've just opened now. There's been strikes all over. Who's the Minister of Education? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.